welcome to another episode of the Otafest podcast. Podcasts are still being recorded from home offices, and Otafest is still planning community content, even if we can't be together physically. We hope you're staying indoors where it's safe, and maybe working on your creative projects in the meantime. Keep your eyes and ears peeled via our social media, where you can expect to hear about our upcoming events. It's me, Nancy, and I'm here with Angelo and Jay.
Hello, I'm here with Nancy and Jay.
I'm here with Nancy and Jay. Nancy and Jay. It's just Nancy and Jay.
Just Nancy and
Wait.
Jay.
Damn. I
I'm
always
currently
knew that
Nancy
really
and
bassy
Jay.
guy was a figment of my imagination, but now it's
No, you are
totally
Nancy,
confirmed.
he is Jay, and I am
Stupid,
Nancy
sexy
and
Flanders.
Jay now.
It's like he's wearing nothing.
That's how
at
it
all.
works.
Nothing at all.
Or
Just
maybe I'm
nothing at
Angelo.
all.
We'll just go with that for now, it's easier.
Yeah.
Mangelo or Pangelo?
Ah,
It is now like what, quarantine week 7? I
Yeah,
feel
it's
like
week 7. How are you guys doing, like mentally wise?
I'm great.
I'm as dumb as ever.
My sleep schedule's fucked, though.
Bro, it's
Is
gone.
that because you've been picking up all kinds of shifts? Is that why, or is it more?
Well, because I've been
Other
on
things.
vacation for the last week now.
Oh, that sounds
Uh,
glorious.
I'm actually going back to regular day shifts on Saturday.
Oh dear.
But this morning I woke up at like 6. Yesterday I
That's
got out
nice.
of bed at 10. The day before
That's
was
not
7 a.m. And I think that day I went to bed at like 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. And it's not the worst that it could be, but it is
No, because
all
you're still
over the
waking up in the
place.
mornings.
Yeah, Dio has actually been worse about it. She's been waking up anywhere from 11 p.m. or 11 a.m. I should say to 1
Jesus.
p.m.
Mm,
I'm like 11 p.m.
The
Holy
first time it
crap.
happened, it was around 12:30 where I was a little bit concerned. I went into the room just to make sure she was still breathing.
I've always
Oh.
I've always said this though.
She was
my
just
favorite
tired.
My favorite thing is to not have to wake up to an alarm
Oh,
on a
yeah,
regular
that's
basis.
good.
Whether like in my line of work, I do have some early mornings. Sometimes I do have to wake up to alarms. I don't love it, but on the times where I get to start like in the afternoon, for example, like 3 o'clock, 1 o'clock starts, whatever. My
You just
natural circadian
sleep
rhythm is
until
about 2
you
a.m.
decide to wake
sleep
up.
time. Yeah, and then I get to wake up at probably around 10, which is a pretty good time. And again,
Yeah.
but not waking up to an alarm, not getting jarred to wake up is great.
It's good.
I also prefer waking up not to a jarring sound that is meant to wake you up.
But I actually wake up to
Um,
music. I don't
Oh.
because I don't. It's just like a
Hey,
random
wait,
Spotify
any
playlist.
music?
Yeah, it's just
Any
like
music?
it's just like a random Spotify playlist that I have that comes
Oh,
up
that's
off my
nice.
phone. Because the other thing I've also learned from early years of let's say school, for example, where I had to
Mhm.
wake up to an alarm, I end up hating that sound.
Yeah.
You know
oh
what I
yeah.
mean?
I think we've had this discussion before.
For
Yeah.
me, I end up hating
What do you
whatever
like to
songs
wake
I
up
use.
to?
Yeah, but if I use a song that I don't know, if it's
Mhm.
and if it's instrumental in nature and it changes on the daily that I use it, I don't have a sound that I start associating with I
Waking
hate.
up.
Yeah.
So I used to use an alarm radio.
hmm
So it would be 95.9 or 96.9 or whatever
hmm
whatever radio station of the era was, and that would be what turns on at 6 or whenever.
Sure.
And I've had many, many times where dude starts talking or lady starts talking or music is playing and I dream that I am waking up and getting ready to go to school or work, but I'm
hmm
not.
hmm
It's a dream. And then when I eventually do actually wake up, it is the weirdest thing.
Oof.
I've got
It's
to
not
say,
it's not a good wake up experience.
I dream every night pretty much, but I almost never have work or school related dreams.
Yeah, but do you ever dream that you are getting out of bed?
No.
Dreams of mundane everyday life are like almost the only ones I have.
No.
What?
Last night I can tell you that I dreamed about sort of like a zombie apocalypse kind of thing. Maybe that's like low key quarantine related. And then
Huh.
at one point we ended up in I don't there wasn't a lot of people from real world that I know in the dream, but I ended up at the Stampede Park. It was empty. and like we were walking through it, and there was like some kind of underground sewer system that we went through, and there were zombies, and it wasn't really a horror movie because, well, it's a horror movie for other people, but I don't really have like fears like that, so it was more just like a fun thing for me.
Were the zombies actually chasing you?
There wasn't like an active chase, but there was like the typical sort of, creepy crawly, gonna jump out at you at some point, kind of, you know,
And then it jumps
environment,
out,
I guess.
and it's a velociraptor.
Oh, that'd be
Because
fun
you're
to
an
pick.
8-year-old and you just watched Jurassic Park.
I wish.
When I was a kid, that was the
I don't
kind
think
of
I've
dreams
ever
that
had
I
a
had.
dinosaur dream. I don't think I've ever had a dinosaur
Really?
dream.
Yeah,
Makes me sad now.
for me, when I was a kid, it was always like either getting stalked by velociraptors, or they would attack me at night, or they would
Mm.
break into the house, things like that. But I
Huh.
mean, that's pretty normal child who grew up on Jurassic Park
Mhm.
sort of nightmares.
Hmm.
And
I've
so
had dinosaur dreams where I get to like ride on one like a horse.
I
Like
wish.
it's
I
my mode
wish.
of transportation type thing.
Yeah.
yeah, that'd be great.
Favorite dinosaur? Go. One
Oof,
favorite dinosaur. Only one.
Only a
Parasaurolophus.
single?
A what?
Really?
A what?
Parasaurolophus, I think that's how it's called. I haven't thought of the name in like a decade. But that's what it's
Pachycephalus?
Parasaurolophus. I think.
Is it the one with
It's like
the
that
long curved
big,
head,
big
or is it the one
curved
that hits
head
things?
and kind of
Okay.
like a duck bill?
Yes.
Yeah, that's the one I
Paras-
was thinking of, the
Yeah.
duckbill one.
Yeah,
Oh,
that was great.
do you is that
Wow.
both of your
I can't
favorites?
believe I still remember that name.
Huh?
I'm. Is that
Oh.
both of your favorites?
I mean, I don't really have a favorite dinosaur per se,
Oh.
but the fact that I remembered what a
Parasaurolophus.
Yeah.
Parasaurolophus,
Mhm.
the fact that I remembered what that was kind of amazing to me. Because I mean, I haven't been to Drumheller in forever.
Oh, I've talked about this before, but like Drumheller is just so sad outside of the actual museum. It makes me so sad to go there. And
Yeah,
it's such a-
Parasaurolophus really is what it is. Okay, good.
Yes, it is. You're right. I Nancy doesn't have a favorite dinosaur.
I do not have a favorite dinosaur.
Hmm.
No. Why? Did you think I had one?
I think
Are
most
you
people should have
disappointed
one.
that I don't? Really?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not gonna say T-Rex because that's very
I don't think there's
I don't
anything
know.
wrong with if it was T-Rex.
But it's not though.
I
It's
don't know.
just I don't
Fair
have
enough.
a favorite dinosaur. I used to love the Stegosaurus.
Nancy, do you want a
Stegosauruses are
cool
nice,
one?
dude.
Or
They're
just
all
I'll give you a
cool. They're
cool one
all
to make your new
cool.
favorite.
They're all cool.
Dimetrodon.
Not a
a
dinosaur.
Dimetrodon.
Ah, Jay, you ruined the spoiler for me.
Get out of here. With that
But
garbage.
Dimetrodon is cool and is dinosaur aged.
No, it's cooled because of the fan on its back.
Damn right it's cool. Yeah. And to my
Uh,
understanding, they're actually more related to alligators or something.
Probably.
Or common
Huh.
lizards. Something like
Mhm.
that. But they're
I-
not considered a dinosaur because of the way that their legs splay out. They are a different branch of like the
Mm.
reptilian family tree.
I like Allosauruses. Allosaur.
Allosaurus.
Yes.
They're just a
They were
T-Rex
like-
with like little horns.
They're like T-Rexes. They're
Aw.
like T-Rex, but they're smaller. But they also were theorized to have worked in small groups, like pairs or threes. So they were a little bit better about like group thinking, but like pack hunting. But also super vicious.
Oh yeah.
Super
Hmm.
cool.
Neat.
I think everyone should have a favorite dinosaur.
Maybe I should do some research.
Never give up on your favorite things from a childhood.
I never gave up on voice acting.
When did you decide to voice act? Like when was that a concrete decision and not just like a oh maybe I could kind of thing?
In like an I can do something actively to contribute towards this as a career or as a one day I will do this. Like deciding as a child that one day I'm going to do this.
Sort of when you made the commitment to do it because like for example when you're a kid you can like all kids will probably be like I want to be a firefighter or I want to be like like this or that.
want to be a bear.
Right, but
That
That's
might be
totally
a
fair.
fire truck.
Yeah, but like there's the difference between like I want and I will become. Like I'm going to take the steps forward from this point on. When did that
Um,
happen?
I would say that ever since I was very, very little, I've always been very drawn towards things like sound design and like the way TV shows sound and the way movies sound and video games too, obviously. Um, there's actually a really funny moment just this weekend. On Saturday, we started watching Babylon 5, and I recognized exactly where certain sound effects were
Oh,
from like episode 3 or 2 or something of like the very first season of Babylon 5. It was a really interesting moment. At some point, they're like in a docking bay, and there's a very metallic sound of like a robot arm moving around, and I immediately knew that is the same sound they use in Reboot. Anyway, so that kind of dovetails right into the list of things I've been doing and finishing off of my backlog list.
Right.
But I'm going to answer Jay's question first. So, ever since I was very young, I have always loved sound design and like the sound of things. I think voice acting as an actual career and like a thing that I could do wasn't something that really hit me till probably late junior high, kind of high school, because that was when I had some friends who were like, they were they were models, or
Right,
they
right.
were they also worked at like an animation studio here in town,
Right.
or they were in theater, something like
Theater.
that. So that wasn't really a thought I had until probably
Right.
around then.
That's
As
pretty
for
cool.
actually taking steps to get into the career, probably university.
fair enough.
I related like I would say that I have like an artistic streak, but I'm not specifically audio geared. Like I like music and I can play some instruments, but I'm not specifically like deep into it. But I would say that in a similar vein, Nancy, I've always wanted to do sound foley work.
So being a Foley artist is a lot of fun.
Hmm.
I've never specifically tried it, but like I have friends who do,
Mhm.
obviously, and like
Obviously.
sometimes they tell you the funniest stories.
Right. I think that the only thing is that I worry about is like how repetitive it might become. Like if I ever try to explore it, because I feel like, you'll have robot sound A.3, or A-3, and then you gotta compare that against robot sound B-7 and choose which one will be the best for this scene and for this, and that's the only thing that kind of like I don't really know if I want to be a part of that, but I would like to make noises and record them.
Yes.
You can come on the stream with me and Bayfar and make noises for us.
I
Yeah,
feel like
always
the
make
most
noises.
interesting thing about Foley artistry is
Mhm.
as like a layman, you might be like, yes, they try to recreate the sounds of life, just doing the same thing, and it's like, no,
Hmm.
no, they go crazy with certain sounds that they just take a bunch of weird stuff and smash it all together, and that's how
Well,
you get your footsteps.
if we can like quickly go back to what we just talked about, like dinosaurs, like the stuff that
Mhm.
they mix in order to get sort of like the T-Rex roar. The T-Rex roar is like a combination of like a hippopotamus and like a lion and some other stuff. But like you have to realize that you're about to make like this iconic piece of work, and like if you have this big T-Rex
And I mean, like,
and it
sure, you
looks
can think of
amazing,
animal sounds, but
yeah,
you can also be like, okay, but I also want the sound of like nails on a chalkboard in there with
mhm.
what does it sound like if you drag a chair across like a dirty kitchen
Right.
kitchen
If
floor?
you don't
Yes,
do it, if you
yes, I
don't
need a
do
little
it
bit of
right,
that sound in there.
if
And
you don't
that's
do it
the weird
right,
thing
it just
about
like
it. It's just
it messes up
it's
the whole
got
thing.
weird stuff in
Yeah.
certain sounds, and that's just awesome.
Yeah, and like I have friends who they're independent filmmakers, and there's going to be a lot of like action scenes where you have to make things like impact noises, and
Right.
like you're going to have to go to the store and buy a couple of stalks of celery, like whole stalks of celery, and smack them together and make it sound like you just beamed someone in the head type thing.
Mm-hmm. There's always
But
the
I'm
good
also
old
going
like.
to mention this because I think this is a really interesting. I'm not totally sure if this is an old wives' tale / urban myth or whatever, but the MGM roaring lion at the beginning of the old films,
I think it's a.
that's not a
Yeah,
lion.
that's a tiger.
It's something else.
Or
I don't remember if it's a tiger or a panther or something, but it's not a lion.
I don't think it's a panther.
I'm
Panthers
told.
have a really high pitched. I'm almost certain it's a tiger. Same thing with the bald eagle screech that you usually hear. That's usually from a red-tailed hawk.
Was it a hawk or a falcon?
No, it should be a red-tailed hawk. It's
Okay.
It's a very common one.
So yeah, like things like that where it's like this iconic, like you say, sound that's associated with like
Mhm.
the MGM lion that roars at the beginning of a film. It's
Mhm.
not actually a lion.
No.
Yeah.
Right. So
And that's just
things
great.
like that are
You've been lied to your
it's stuff
entire
that you
cinematic
don't-
history. You've been lied to. How do you feel about that? And it's like, great, because honestly, it works. That's what the
Yeah.
audience wants.
It's
you
like
know?
explosions in movies.
Mhm.
Real life is never like that. And
No.
thank God, because if explosions in real life were as common as explosions in movies, I mean, my computer would explode every time I turned it on, and then I'd have to replace it. Ugh.
Or you'd
but
just
you'd
be
have
dead.
to dramatically walk away from it while it happens.
Walk away from the exploding PC
Without
and
looking
walk
at it.
to Memory Express to buy new PC parts. And I walk in,
I
it's like,
know,
hey,
I
yeah,
still
my
haven't bought
exploding
that
module
laptop.
went out again. I need a new one of those.
Are you ever gonna get that laptop at this point?
I believe pre-orders were available for one of the submodels, but I don't think they're like I believe I saw the pre-order page go up on Memex and then it just disappeared.
Mhm,
So not totally sure what's going on there.
Mhm.
But no, technically no. I'm waiting on all that flight and hotel money to come back from my canceled concert. So
I'm waiting
maybe
for.
after that's all back.
I'm waiting for. Like, so the government, when you go to like the CRA website, when I was filing taxes, because
Oh,
that's
shit, I
what's.
still have to do that.
Because what? You've had this
Nothing,
much time,
nothing.
you fool.
I know. Shh, it's fine. I will do it after
on
this
the-
podcast.
On the CRA website, there's like this little subsection that lets you check if you have any checks from the government that have gone uncashed.
that were unclaimed.
Yes, unredeemed.
Yeah.
And it turns out that I
Mhm.
have about like a couple of $100 that have gone unredeemed.
Nice.
But I submitted it like way before, like in January, before anything happened, and I haven't gotten anything back. So I don't know if it's just like slow processing or if I did it
No.
wrong.
I actually did the same thing.
Yeah.
I got things. I want to say I submitted them at the beginning of March or very late February, and I
Uh-huh.
got things back in the middle of March. They just came. They reprinted them as checks, and they sent them to me.
Oh.
So you
Wow.
had to make sure that whatever address the
Mailing
CRA
address.
had was your current
Mhm.
address.
That shouldn't be an issue, but I'll double
And
check.
even
That's
though I
actually good to know.
had automatic deposit set up,
They
they
didn't do it
did
that way.
have to send it back as check because I guess the check had already been written at some point or another. So I don't know how that works.
Weird.
I actually got one later in the day, or at a later time in the week. So 8 of them I've already cashed, and know.
8? Why the hell did you have so many?
I had 9 in
Yeah.
total. Here's one, and it's only worth
Holy-
$23. So I
Someone's
haven't bothered
swimming
going
in
to the bank
nosh.
for this one. But the rest
you
of them were
just
worth
cash
Why
those
don't,
$850.
why don't you
in?
just mobile deposit, my guy?
I don't
Yeah,
think
can't
my
you
app
just
has
use
that.
the app?
I don't think my bank has that.
Who are you with?
Service Credit Union.
Oh.
Well,
On one hand, you're with a credit union, which is usually pretty good for customers. On the other hand, you miss out on services and you miss out on sort of, what do you call it? Convenience.
specific lending privileges.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's big conveniences with being with bigger banks, and there's some conveniences being
What
with
do
credit
you-
unions, and I really just don't care.
What do you do, like when it comes to ATMs? If you just want to withdraw cash.
The easiest way
Do
is
you
to
ever?
go to a actual credit union branch and use
Oh,
their
okay.
ATMs. You can just use any other ATM, but then
But
the
then you're gonna
ATM
get
fees.
charged. Yeah.
You're getting like a $2.50 fee or whatever from their ATM. I'm getting a $2.50 fee
Boo.
on the bank end for using the ATM, and it's like
Boo.
I see.
So
All right.
Well, that sounds like
More than anything, I just
like an
never
awful
use cash.
time.
Yeah, I'm in
Oh.
that boat too. I usually don't use cash. I don't like to carry cash.
Like I think
I
the
don't.
last time I handled cash was Christmas cards.
Yeah. The only time I actively have cash is when I'm traveling. But even then, I'll use my travel visa as well, so I don't really need
Yeah.
it. But it's nice. It's nicer to have
Speaking
cash when you're traveling.
Speaking of Christmas cards, I just got in my mailbox on I think Friday night a return to sender that had failed. So someone had sent someone who used to live here a Christmas card
Aw.
like back in early December. It had been returned to the sender and it failed being returned to the sender, so they sent it back here.
Do you know your seller?
No.
Oh.
And they haven't lived here in a very long time. So it's not going to be possible to give this back.
Weird.
Don't open
And
it.
it's
It's illegal.
April. It's April.
But
Just
it's still
burn it.
This
illegal.
is a card.
It's still illegal.
Oh yeah, I didn't open it. No, I didn't open it. But like I was just kind of looked at it and I was like, this was postmarked.
Even
like,
if it
early
might
December.
contain $5,000, don't open it. Don't do it.
I mean,
Open
I
it and
didn't,
destroy the
so-
evidence.
Nobody can have this money. Throw it on the
No
barbecue.
one, not even me.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Yeah.
you were gonna say?
Before I know there's something you want to get into, Nancy, but before you do,
Mhm.
because it's just sort of related. Something that I've been getting into, but not in the way that you have, is I've been wanting to get back into retro gaming.
Ooh.
I've been looking at
What layer of retro gaming?
everything from the Game Boy up to the DS, not the 3DS,
Just
the Game Boy
Just
to
the
the
DS.
DS, yeah. So basically,
I have
the
a
entire
very fond spot in my heart
Yeah,
for the DS.
the Nintendo handheld library is, in my opinion, the greatest gaming library there is.
So
All
hold
of
on.
the Game
I'm
Boy
just gonna
games
reiterate,
I loved. The
I'm
DS.
just gonna reiterate something Jay's mentioned
Yeah.
before. He doesn't like to rewatch or replay things he's already watched or played before.
I don't.
So are you okay? So you're intending to, I'm gonna say, play stuff that you've never played.
I'm gonna play some stuff that I've never played, but I will play
Uh-huh.
some stuff that I have played before, only because there has been so much time. Like we're talking at least 10 years of time between having played it the last time. So I don't mind it nearly as much. When I think about replaying or rewatching something, I mean within like a 5-year span. I don't really like doing that. But over a time where like I have clearly not played this in a long time or watched this in a long time, and I don't mind anymore because simply put, my long-term memory is not the greatest with details. So it'll be like I'm doing it new again, which is kind of nice. But then I'll also get like a
Yeah.
low tinge of nostalgia. I get that hit still because I'm like, yeah, I was here. I remember this. I remember enjoying this, but it's still sort of new, you know?
I kind of miss, Spinach Vision, the first Game Boy.
I
that.
Oh,
that.
I understand what you mean.
Yeah, that weird, slightly green tinge.
My first Game
Yeah.
Boy was the Game Boy Pocket, and it was actually
Oh.
proper grayscale instead of the green scale.
Yes, yes.
The
Uh,
greenie. Yeah.
But it was great. I really loved the Game Boy Pocket.
Mhm.
The Game Boy Color felt like wasted potential to me. Like it was
Yeah.
clearly color, and it
It was
really
nice,
didn't
though.
do anything much better.
It was nice though. Like it was
It was just a marginally better Game Boy.
right, but I mean in the same way that like remember like,
The
none
Game
of us
Boy
are none of us
Advance was a game
are-
changer, though.
are old enough to remember, but like a old black and white CRT TV wasn't that much more worse than a color old CRT. You know what I mean? Or it wasn't.
I
was
I
it, yeah, it
had
was
a
still
black and
CRT.
white CRT for a while.
Yeah. Like the in terms of like image fidelity, it wasn't like amazing. It was just the idea that you could finally see things as with more detail.
Colored or not.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I remember my elementary school had screens that were green only.
Mhm.
Oh,
So green only, and then
Wait,
if you
actual
were
TV
extra
screens,
lucky,
or were these like computer
no,
monitors?
these were computer
Okay,
monitors.
right.
So like green only, and if you were really lucky, you got the one in the corner that was orange.
Hey, I had one of the orange ones. Except not at school.
Exactly.
We never had the
Oh.
monochrome displays at school. This was later
Really?
on when I was getting into computers, and I was just getting all my like family and friends to give me their garbage shit so I could work with whatever I had. And at one point in
Mhm.
time, I plugged in a monochrome monitor. I didn't realize it was monochrome, and it just gave me this bright orange display.
That's hilarious.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, "What?" And it was the Windows XP background desktop that I was at with this orange display, and I was
Wow.
like, "Well, what's this contrast knob do? Does that make it look better?" And it wasn't a contrast knob.
It was just
It
brightness.
was a color knob.
What? There's a color knob on
So
one of those
it
things?
wasn't just monochrome. It was any color, but just one at a time.
It was
Oh,
essentially
that's still monochrome.
it's essentially like a mask or a filter.
That's silly.
I'm
though,
not sure
really
exactly
weird.
how it worked, but that's what it was. It was a monochrome display
so
that
cool.
could be any color in the spectrum that this wheel supported.
I'm like
But
I'm
only one at a time.
like maybe
Well,
it's
'cause
just
it was
me, but I think
monochrome.
that's really interesting. Like I like it's sort of silly if you look at it from a modern perspective, but I think it was. I like the idea. I like the
It
idea.
was cool.
I see where
was very
they're coming
cool.
from for it, and I can really appreciate how sort of basic that solution was, quote unquote.
Well, it's like
but
a
I think
lot
it's
of
really fun.
a lot of early video games
Mhm.
had a monochrome display, but then there'd be a color insert that you put in front of the screen to
Right.
get different colors on screen, and that was just the way that certain games were back then. It was neat,
Mhm,
and
mhm.
Hmm.
it was just such a weird experience. It was great.
Nancy, you wanted to like you finally finished a bunch of stuff, right?
Yeah, so I've mentioned in previous episodes that I have a weird backlog
Yes.
of mostly things I haven't played or seen, but also a handful of things that I've already played or seen.
Right.
And last week we wrapped up all 10 seasons of Adventure Time.
Right.
Nice.
Caught up on the most latest season of Doctor Who.
Okay.
That's a lot.
Started.
Ooh, okay, keep going.
Started Babylon 5.
Did you watch the first four first?
Hold on. Jay wants to say something.
No, I just Bayfar came in here and gave me food, so that was great. But I
Aw.
was also gonna say
Bayfar
like
delivered this time.
yes.
love.
We do not plug him though. What was I gonna say? You Doctor Who. I thought about
Yes.
watching Doctor Who recently
Yes.
to catch up because I left around the Matt Smith. No. I watched a little bit of Peter Capaldi, but I found that the writing just wasn't good, unfortunately, and I thought, which made me sad because I really think Peter Capaldi is a great actor, and I think he was gonna be really good as the Doctor, but I think the writing, the scripting was just bad in the end, unfortunately. I don't know how you actually feel about that. I haven't caught up. I haven't watched anything with what's her name? Jodie
Jodie.
starts with an F,
It's
I
not
think.
Whittaker.
Is it Jodie Whittaker? I think it's Jodie. Is it not Jodie
It's-
Whittaker?
It might be Whittaker.
Or Jodie
I can't
Foster?
remember her name. No, I think it is Whittaker. I'm sorry if it's wrong to all the Doctor Who fans. But I've noticed a
Whittaker.
couple of things about the Lady Doctor.
Uh-huh.
They do touch on like it's obviously a time travel sci-fi
Mhm.
fun show. Like it's for fun mostly.
Ugh, for fun.
How dare they have
Fun.
fun?
Disgusting.
I've noticed though that they've been quite prominently featuring historical events. I don't want to give anything away at all, so I'm just not
Sure.
going to mention specifically which ones,
Right.
but like the historical events they've chosen to highlight in their episodes,
Mhm,
I feel are very tied to things like the current human rights movements that are still going. Things like the proliferation of technology and the important individuals behind it. Lots of political things like partition. So I've kind of noticed when I compare it back to when I first got into it, which was like the Eccleston era,
Right.
that they're really highlighting like actual historical events on Earth, and they're being very heavy-handed with like the whole guys, fucking message, listen, and it's not a bad thing.
Do you?
Because in my opinion, a lot of audiences kind of just want this sort of stuff
Right.
spoon-fed to
But I
them.
just so maybe it's the way that you explain it versus how it's actually presented. I'm not really certain, obviously, but it does sound like they're going for really heavy-handed political correctness sort of
No,
angle.
more like commentary, political
Political commentary.
commentary.
Sorry, yeah, not
Yeah.
yeah, you're right. I used the wrong term. But it's just like I wonder if that's because they also have a female doctor for the first time and they're sort of really pushing sort of rights
I wonder.
issues related
I do
to
wonder
history,
about that, like that exact point.
right?
And I don't know.
I
And
kind of would hope
frankly,
that
I
not,
don't.
almost.
Yeah, frankly, I don't really care because regardless, the episodes are quite good.
That's good.
And I'm really enjoying it because when they told me there was gonna be a 13th, I was like, wait, what?
Right.
And I know they explained it right at the very end of Capaldi's
Yeah.
era, but still.
Right. I haven't really watched, but I've just sort of read on it every now and then. I'm like, I can see where they're going. I probably won't get back into it. What I have got back into though is I'm not rewatching. I almost said rewatching, and that would be a mistake. I am catching up on One Piece. I was about 125 episodes away from where they are now,
Wow.
which is
Hold on. How many episodes total is it?
like 930 right now, 935 maybe.
Jesus. I was going to say a high number, and I would have been 300 off.
I was
I was gonna say
at about
600s,
100. I was about 810 or so, give or take.
Jesus.
So I've caught up to I'm at about 905 right now. I think I'm close. It's pretty good right now.
Damn.
Like it.
How long has it been that you've like over how many days have you blitzed through this
Oh, like 4.
so far? Jesus.
I took some time off as well. Like not really time off, but I just didn't take any shifts for a little bit because just I have other stuff going on. I was like, I don't need to work right now, but I do work still. So yeah, like I'd be watching some episodes, blitz through, because they're actually quite short. Like the actual episode content, not including opening and ending and some of the recap that they might show sometimes.
Do you skip?
I skip a lot of the intro and stuff because there's just so much of it.
Do you
Now
like
that I
skip,
think about it-
throughout the episode?
No.
You know, in the later seasons of Dragon Ball Z, how they
Yeah.
would do an episode recap from the previous episode, and they would spend like 5 minutes on the recap of the last episode.
Yeah, they would. One Piece does
One
a
Piece
little
do
bit of
that?
that. They
Oh,
they do
no.
a little bit of that, but only when they've sort of completed a mini arc within the arc itself. So they want to do a quick recap. But then the actual
That's
episode
almost
content
acceptable.
is only about 15 minutes, so it's fairly short, but it is kind of nice because you can just knock out episodes pretty quickly as long as you know when. Like I know the opening song takes about 2.5 minutes. So
Wait, what?
jump out past that. Yeah.
That's a long
two and a half-
song.
They basically play a whole song, but you have
What
to
the
remember
fuck?
One Piece.
1.5 minutes is
you
long.
understand though. One Piece is considered to be like, in terms of like, let's say gaming or something like that. It's a AAA title. They put like the songs they have are custom songs. They're not just they approach somebody and be like, oh, can we use a part of your song to be in our anime? No, like they are custom songs with like and they intend to play the whole song, and like they do really nice animation for it now. Like they got the Dragon Ball Z Super or Dragon Ball Super, I guess, animation director and one of the Dragon Ball Super not animation director, like story director or series directors, and they've joined the One Piece cast, and they have done really well. Like honestly, I'm super excited to watch sort of this new arc right now that's happening. The last arc that I just finished, that was going on for like 140 episodes or something heavy like that, was a bit it was okay, but it did drag on in a few ways. Like it could have been shorter by about 20 episodes, and you wouldn't have noticed.
An arc that was 100 episodes dragged on.
Yes.
Yikes.
Who would have thought?
But overall, the
Yikes.
quality is not bad, is the thing. Like, and coming into this new arc, there's a lot of high hopes, and I think
It only
it's going to
dragged
be really
on for a
interesting.
little bit, you mean?
Hey, when your whole series is longer than most animes, or sorry, if that one arc is longer than most anime,
How many
right?
episodes for one arc?
So you have to keep the quality fairly decent, or else
fucking God.
you will start losing people. You know.
I mean, yes.
Here's the other no. Here's the thing. You're about to be like, oh, it's so long and there's so much shit. What else do you have to do? You have so
I
much
mean,
time. You might as well
I
find
have
something
so
that you
many
can really
games.
invest
I
your time
guess.
into.
I guess.
It's a good
mean,
series.
okay,
It's
so-
a good series. It will make you cry. It will make you happy.
I actually
it'll
have
make-
not watched any anime from the current season yet.
Wow.
I have sort of a list of things I might want to sort of superficially watch in the background,
Right.
but nothing I want to fully invest like full attention to.
Like, there's one that's basically JoJo Steel Ball Run mixed with Wacky Races, and that one sounds fine. I'm gonna
None
try
of those
it
none of those
eventually.
sounds you just made from your mouth made any sense cognitively in my brain. You were like, I heard you say JoJo, and then you said Flargaron.
Steel Ball Run.
Yeah, and I was like, uh-huh.
And then Wacky Races. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Wacky Races.
Wacky Races was great. Do you guys not remember that?
Huh.
I don't think I've ever
I-
seen whatever.
Oh,
you're
it was
talking
an
about.
old it was an old mishmash of Hanna-Barbera cartoons. So you'd have people like the Flintstones, or I don't think the Flintstones were ever on there.
You'd
Just
have
different
the Flintstones,
Hanna-Barbera.
except
fucking-
not the Flintstones.
Jetsons.
Jetsons, Boris and Natasha, I think from Rocky and
From
Bullwinkle.
Rocky and Bullwinkle?
I should just look this up.
Yo, I love Rocky and Bullwinkle. That's the thing I'd be willing to rewatch right now. Is just like a
haven't
retro
seen it in so
cartoon.
Maybe they
reel.
were mostly
Yeah.
original characters.
Do not steal.
So I do kind of want to watch a reboot again.
But Wacky
And I know, like
Races
a
was
little
great.
while ago, people suggested watching Last Airbender.
Oh, I might actually watch Avatar for the first time. I've never watched more than like 2 episodes because I just couldn't get into it for some reason. But I hear it's
will
so good.
fully endorse this. Let's Netflix party that shit.
We should. I also
Okay.
I also feel like I should have watched Tiger King, but I don't really want to support, like, I know it's sort of like animal abusive, and I don't.
I
really wanna-
have no desire to
Yeah.
actually see Tiger King, but I
Yeah.
enjoy the memes that
don't
come
know.
out of it.
Yeah, I'm
It's
in
been
that. I'm in
described
that.
to me as such a hot mess.
Yeah, like there's no one that I really want to cheer for. I think maybe people are gonna be like Joe Exotic, but at the end of the day, like I think it's just a bunch of
People have been getting tattoos of Joe Exotic, and
Yeah,
it's just like, what are
I-
these people doing?
I mostly worry
Why
about
would
like
you
the
do this to
actual
yourself?
welfare of the animals, you know.
Yeah.
So
And I have a very weak stomach for animal abuse, so
it just gets me like angry. So
exactly.
uh,
But other things I finished in the last week.
Yeah.
The Final Fantasy 13 series is done. We're
finally.
can shelve it finally. Sean has made the incredible decision to try and resume playing FF10-2 that I still kind of sort of deny in the back of my head.
Hmm.
Kingdom Hearts 3 I think is the next PlayStation game on my list.
Dio really liked Kingdom Hearts 3.
Oh yeah.
I got this is sort of related to my retro game thing, but one of my favorite Final Fantasies, like top 3 Final Fantasy game, is Final Fantasy Tactics. And I might have
Tactics
talked-
are the PlayStation Tactics, right?
yeah.
Okay.
And there's a game on Steam called Fell Seal Arbiter's Mark, which is not related to Final Fantasy. It's not by like Square or anything, but they basically made another tactics RPG. And
Nice.
it was like maybe like $35, and I was like thinking about getting it. Literally yesterday, it went on sale for some reason down to $11, and I was like, yeah, easy,
Done.
easy. I'm
Purchase.
super looking forward to playing that as a new game. I haven't been buying anything new games wise in a little bit here, so I am sort of that one was something I was just looking forward to, you know. But I'm also
Do you ever feel like you need to mentally prepare yourself before you embark on like a journey through a game?
No.
yes, because I play games like a completionist does, at least on the first round. Like
Like
I
the
like
most prep that I do for a game is pouring a glass of water.
like 200 hours, into a game on the first run. You kind of need to know what you're gonna go through and what you're gonna do, and how you're gonna plan how you play and how you want, like what ending you might want to go for and all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean?
I start
Mm.
MMOs by just installing it and just jumping right in without reading the instruction book.
Yeah, I like to play games without being terribly prepared for it. So, like, my level of mental preparation is making the decision to play the game, and then it's colored a little bit by whatever brief background that I know about it, like what kind of genre, what kind of
Right.
general gameplay style it is, and that's enough. If I'm okay with that decision, I just sort of get into it. And I like going in blind. I don't like having too much of it spoiled for me or too much of the strategy shared or explained. I just want to see if I can figure it out. And obviously, if I can't, and I'm just like struggling,
Hmm.
clearly I'll go looking for being like, am I playing this wrong? Usually the answer is yes.
Hmm. I don't ever go the spoiler route, but I do like
Mm-hmm.
to, as I game, like let's say I'll be playing, like, I get home from work, maybe I'll play an hour or two of a game that I've been working on, and then
Mm-hmm.
after I've completed like a section or something, I like to go online then and maybe like either go on Wikipedia or some respective resource page for the game and read up more about the area that I just beat
Oh.
so that I have
So
a good
if you
understanding.
found out you missed something crucial, would you go back?
That very rarely
Depends
ever
how far
happens
back.
because I'm fairly thorough with games.
Thorough, you say.
But that's why I also told you that I was having hell with like Stardew Valley because it's very open, and then that means like I
Mm-hmm.
sort of have to in a game like
Create your
Stardew,
own goals.
exactly. But you also don't have to worry about like hitting that many milestones or anything like that. But I'm just like the thing that that I struggle with the most is literally the aesthetic of my farm, like how and where I'm gonna plant a tree matters to me. And I don't mean just like I want to have a tree there. I mean like it has to be this plot of land, not the plot of land beside it or above it or behind it. It has to be that one because it's going to look good there and I can access it whenever I need to, if I need to, if it's like a crop or whatever. That's the kind of stuff I get into.
Hmm. Okay.
Hmm.
Interesting.
But
Angelo, do you like to go back if you miss something like really crucial in a game?
I hate backtracking in games, which is weird since one of my favorite games ever encourages backtracking to high hell.
it's backtracking, the
Really?
simulator.
Well, it's like my favorite, one of my
Walking the
favorite games,
simulator.
Tales of Symphonia.
Uh-huh.
Such
Oh,
a good
I
game,
love that
Never played a
game.
and
Tales game.
generally, it's very good about just letting you go wherever you want,
Right.
almost whenever. Uh, to the point where there are multiple ways. If you go left on the world map, you completely change the order of events for the first half of the game. Uh,
Hmm.
Hmm.
and there are so many secrets and extra things and extra bosses if you do backtrack in the game.
Hmm.
And I didn't know about these until about my third or fourth playthrough of it.
You know what game I really need to sit down and just figure out, or even just give up and say I need a guide for this?
Hmm.
Long Live the Queen.
Oh,
I know of it. I haven't played it.
Because I
Oh.
have had endings where she dies from chocolate because she's an idiot.
Right.
Yes.
And then I've also
no.
had games
Uh,
where she dies as like a tyrant who's paranoid.
Oh, so you haven't been able to make it through the game yet.
No, and the
Okay.
thing is that it already introduces you so many paths of divergence on like your very first
My
day
strat is go full military, full on military, full on magical girl, and just make sure that you have like some points into decoration. You need like 60 or 75 points in decoration.
Jesus Christ.
Because
Well, anyway,
those
that's going
decoration
on my
points
backlog, I guess.
Mhm.
help you get the last boss or the last thing done.
See, I don't even think I've actually encountered like a boss per se. So anyway, I
Yeah.
guess that's going back
Long
on the
Live the
backlog.
Queen
Great.
is It's really fun.
It is fun, but it also gets repetitive
Right.
when you're not sure which choices you've made already or not.
There are different ways to win.
Mhm.
Apparently, there are like non ways that don't involve murdering everything in front of you with magical tactic nukes.
Mhm.
But what
Uh,
if I want to?
then you just make sure that you have all your points in military with magical girl and decoration.
I
Okay, okay then.
going back to that whole thing about like sort of replaying things and like how detail oriented you might become. That's just how I like to play. How I like big games that I know that have like an expansive storyline, or like you're expected to be pouring 40 or 50 hours into the storyline itself. I'm also very happy to be playing like very short form games like Valorant. We talked about at the end of last podcast. Like it's easy to pick up. You jump into a game. Uh, you know, play around for 25 minutes or something like that, and that's pretty much
All
it.
yesterday, I couldn't jump into a game of Valorant.
That's because it hates you. Because
I would start the game and I would get this launch error, and I would go to their support site, and nothing on their website said anything about the launch error.
Mhm.
And so I started Googling things, and I uninstalling the game by just first uninstalling Valorant, then having to delete the services. Then I could uninstall the fucking Vanguard anti-cheat software, and then I could restart my computer,
Right?
reinstall everything, restart it again, and it would give me the same error, and I would be like, what the hell?
See,
And then I would
again,
start going back to the internet, and eventually a Reddit post said, yeah, for some reason, Gigabyte motherboard utilities are having a bad time with Valorant. And so I
Oh
uninstall all my motherboard
no.
utilities from the OEM, and then I can finally fucking play again.
see, this is what. But you're not listening to me. I told you the game just hates you. Why couldn't you just accept that and just not?
So that's my Valorant.
Ho ho.
Terrible.
I see
But I
what you
played
did
a game
there.
and it was fun today. Except the enemy team was really salty and just
Toxic.
yeah, not very
Toxicity.
sportsmanlike.
Sounds about
Toxicity in even enclosed betas.
They were
man.
even winning, and they were just like, "Rah,
Being
we're,
bad
we're
winners.
bad people. Rah.
We're bad winners.
I
That's-
can't
there's
believe
nothing
you're
worse
so
than
bad at
winners.
video games that we're winning." Rah.
Yeah, there's always people like that. Like
I
I,
know.
like I mean, it's one thing to get like I get salty, but not because of other people like other players. It's me like knowing I missed a shot that I can make on the regular, and it's like, why did I do that? How did I shoot? I like earlier today, I was playing before the podcast. I jumped into a firefight where there was a guy right in front of me, like maybe like 2 meters away. I shot two shots directly to the left of his face, and then he killed me. And I was like, I had him, I
Aw.
had him, but I didn't. And that's why I get salty, not because of anything like like people want to fuck around and do stupid shit. I'm like, whatever. But it is nice to like jump into a custom lobby though, because then you can fuck around and like um set up
When
like
you
a
can
knife
get a
fight.
game with a bunch of friends,
No, you set
it's
up like
good.
knife fights, man. Knife fight tournaments. That's that's a lot more fun than sort of all the serious.
I wonder if there will ever be surf
seriousness.
maps.
Maybe.
Probably not.
Possibly. I don't know.
Well, that's the thing. Valorant will never beat Counter-Strike in that regard, where you can have custom servers with a whole bunch of custom mods and just fun, stupid stuff. I can only foresee a future for Valorant in like the sort of casual slash like casual competitive and
Yeah.
competitive mode. Like you're never gonna have around like in old Counter
You're
Strike.
never gonna have like
mods.
prop hunt or
Exactly, or any of those like
gun game.
there used to be
Unless Riot
World of
specifically
Warcraft
puts it
mod.
into it.
World of Warcraft mod was great. You could
Zombie
choose
mods.
yeah, you could choose a race and you could choose like
gun game.
like skills and stuff. You could be a night elf. That meant you could go invisible for like 5 seconds. That was
Oh
fun
right,
stuff.
I remember these actually.
Yeah, those were great.
I remember a few of those servers back in 1.6.
Yeah, so they'll never replicate that.
No, they won't.
But Valorant is
Hmm.
okay, fun in its own way. I just hope it doesn't get too toxic. But it will.
I really hope it doesn't.
I'm staying out of this closed beta until things calm down, and maybe I'll perhaps dip a toe into it one day. But it's starting to sound like the toxic community is already taking over.
I mean, it's made by the same
But it's
people
always
as League
there.
of Legends.
Yeah,
And
it's a
not only
Riot
that,
game.
you've got
So
the Counter-Strike community, the Overwatch community, and the League of Legends community
And the
all
the no no
descending.
and oh my god, I can't remember the name of the game because I never played it. You know that one that's like PUBG, but it's like for kids and it's free?
Oh, right, Fortnite.
Fortnite.
Yeah,
Fortnite.
the Fortnite
Ugh.
community. All of them
Absolutely.
descending on this
Yeah.
one game, expecting it to be like the next coming.
Man, I'm old.
And
Hey, whatever.
and
So
it's
you
just
guys,
like,
so you guys want to talk about a really weird experience?
okay,
Do you want to hear a really odd side story of voice acting?
sure.
We'll end on this.
Okay,
We'll end on
so
this. So you make it good.
oh,
Make it the
shit.
best story
It's gonna
you've
be a
ever
sad
told.
one,
Peer
though.
pressure. Clutch or
Best story,
kick.
the best
Clutch or
story
kick.
you have ever told.
So you guys know how I'm often typecast as the sweet character
What?
because I have a higher voice. Yeah, you know that. You knew that. Anyway,
I actually
I've
don't know the
often
character's
joked,
new voice, so
don't
Rude.
worry about it, Angelo. But I have often joked with people where it's like, you know, it'd be fun if I got cast as a bad guy for once. That would just be nice and
Mhm.
fun. And I had an opportunity last week to do a table read of a screenplay. So someone has written a screenplay. It was a very excellent script. I really enjoyed it, and it tells an coming out story, but it's also a coming what's it called?
Coming of
Basically
age.
the story of growing up
Coming
as
of
a kid.
age.
coming of age.
Coming of age, thank you. So it's a coming of age, but it's also a coming out story.
There's a lot of coming.
And
Got it.
gotcha.
Lewd.
Perfect.
I didn't
That
know
is
that
not the
you were
point.
voicing those kind of anime.
So, it is a screenplay, so it's meant to be like an actual movie. And obviously main character, you know, faces people who are homophobic,
Sure.
transphobic,
Yeah.
etc., etc. And the slurs that are used in the script are very accurate. They are slurs that people use when they are homophobic pieces of shit.
Oh boy, you had to
I-
channel your inner 4chan.
I have never, ever in my whole life said any of these really horrible things out loud before or in this tone.
Mhm.
Like, I don't even make jokes out of this
Right.
stuff. I refuse to say these words.
You're a good person.
But now I've had to read a script where I've had to actually say it.
Mhm.
And I'm saying it in a very, like, intentionally hurtful manner. And it was just, it is a danger of being an actor.
Karens.
I get it. Those Karens. Fucking Karens.
Uh-huh.
But I realize and I recognize that this is one of those, it's just part of the job. You're hired to read a part. It is not who you are and it doesn't represent who you are. But it's just when you're forced to say these really, really awful things, like things that you would never ever think to say to anyone, ever. It was just a really weird, like, also it was a very sad story. So just it had a really weird effect on me for the next, you know, couple of days where it was just this really odd dissociative guilt and this kind of depressiveness.
Right.
And people don't talk about this exactly. Like, especially when it comes to voice actors, I don't think people really ever talk about that. People usually talk about what a great, excellent villain you make, or this scene that you did with so and so.
Right.
It was so excellently done.
It was.
And people don't often talk about how doing this is like a challenge to your character as a person.
This really reminds me of a small anecdote that I read from, you know, Django Unchained, the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And you
Yep.
have Leonardo DiCaprio, and he's like a slave master and
Yep.
slave trader and all that. And he uses very period appropriate language, let's say, for slaves
Mm-hmm.
in
Mhm.
in Southern America. But during actual like filming and you know like run throughs, he was uncomfortable with saying that so often and so with so much like meaning behind it, right? Like acting like, you know, like you are this and that kind of thing, right? But the way that another well, Samuel L. Jackson's also in that movie. So when
Mm-hmm.
Leonardo DiCaprio was like, I'm uncomfortable with saying the N-word this much. Like this is not like it's not who he is, and all the same sort of moral problems that you had with it. And Samuel Jackson basically just said, we know that it's not you, but you have to understand that this is the time, this is the place to be saying it because that's how it was said, and this is for black people in this time. This is just how it was, man. Like it
Yeah.
sucks, but it's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's like, that's just the role.
Hmm.
It's just that I knew that there were gonna be times where people were gonna be offering, uncomfortable things for you to say.
Right.
And like for different people, it's the different types of uncomfortable. Like some people I know don't like swearing. They don't want to be like, that's just not how they want to brand themselves, and they're not comfortable with paid work where they curse.
Mhm.
That's fine. I don't have an issue with it personally, so I'm okay. But like just with our background as part of Otafest, as part of an organization that has had so much support in our years of operating.
Yeah, we support a diverse
know,
community, and we're very proud of that.
Exactly.
We
And
don't
just,
just support a diverse community. We are a diverse community.
and being a part of that, and then also
You feel like you're turning your back.
Job
Yeah,
where
you're turning your back on those values, right?
It doesn't feel so much like you're turning your back on it, but it kind of feels like you're wearing a skin that's not yours,
Yeah.
and it's uncomfortable.
Right.
It's
you-
like wearing a
And-
sign that says "We'll say N-word for money."
Yeah.
Ooh.
Or like that one anime
Right.
series right now about that guy who has a superpower where he turns into a mascot. And then
Oh,
there's
Gleipnir.
the love interest who just wants to get inside that mascot flesh suit.
Yes.
Do you feel like that affects your performance? Do you feel like somebody who, let's say, has your skill set, is in your profession, could be up for the role, but they don't have that compulsion to hold back from saying certain words or phrases that are hurtful because for whatever reason, do you feel like you lose out professionally to somebody like that?
So first of all, I will say that if I take on a role, I will read it to the best of my ability.
Mhm.
There was no holding back. And that's probably a really big contribution to why it feels so extra terrible afterwards.
Mm.
Because when you yell horrible homophobic slurs very loudly, it's different than you just muttering it and just reading through the lines.
Mm. So
And,
what I'm really
so-
getting from all of this is that you're professionally a bad person.
I am professionally
You will be a villain for money.
terrible person. And it was just a very very odd experience, and I think compounded with the social distancing and all that stuff, it made it take much longer for me to get that out of my system.
Right, because you can't just brush it away as easily if you just went out and got bubble tea or something, right?
Well, I can't I can't call you guys up and be like, you guys want to go for bubble tea? I really need to get a load off.
I had bubble tea for the first
Like-
time in months yesterday. I just could not. I was like, I
Man.
need
Me and Dio
bubble
started
tea.
making tapioca pearls.
Oh,
We made a
Nice.
double batch last time, and
Nice.
from all the rolling of pearls manually, she never wants to make another batch ever again.
sounds good.
That's yikes.
might order.
I still have a giant tub of lychee jelly that I've been slowly chipping away at.
Do you?
I
very
really
proud of it.
don't. I've had enough. I'm never doing it again.
Hi, Dio.
Never.
I definitely would rather just order it every time. I don't care enough
Fair.
about having it in my house.
That's fair. That's fair.
And that's pretty much it.
So anyway, to really answer your question, I don't think that professionally I lose out, because you can always find someone who's willing to say bad things
Mhm.
for money.
Mhm. And you're one of them.
The only line that I won't the only line I won't cross is doing political work.
Okay.
Political as in what way?
Like if I had to do a voiceover supporting and endorsing
Oh, like that.
a party that I personally
Right.
very strongly disagree
But
with.
what if it was a series where you were someone who was like a controversial figure in a controversial political period, such as like, what if you were contracted to play like Eva Braun?
Well,
Is
then
that
that's a role.
yeah? But
That is a characterization of a
okay, but
historical
you're just saying
figure.
you don't want your
Asian lady
you don't want
being
your
cast
voice
as Ava Braun.
yeah, you don't want your voice to be sort of the voice of this political party or this political ideology, but you're okay with a role that sort of historically has this kind of prominence and association.
Yes.
Okay. Cool. Anything else to add to that, or are we pretty much good to go?
Have a good one.
Thanks for listening.
Angelo signing
safe.
out.